Welcome to the Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast with Forrest Kelly.
And you want to get to the top and elevate the moment with a really good cocktail, alcohol or non in our case, but you're not going to bring 750 milliliter bottles and shakers and all that kind of stuff.
The Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast.
Yeah, one of my favorite expressions I've heard lately is it's called zebra striping, right? And so you have an alcoholic beverage. You know, if you're drinking margaritas, you know, you drink a margarita made, with alcoholic tequila, and then you have one made with free spirits. And then you go back and you have one with alcohol. And all of a sudden, you know, at the end of the night, you go, gosh, I've had 8 cocktails, or 6 cocktails, but I feel fine.
So let's go through your product line, which is quite extensive. So we've got everything from canned products to...
Yeah, so where we started, and really where the majority of our business is in the 750 milliliter non-alcoholic spirits. So we've got a non-alcoholic bourbon, bourbon style whiskey. We've got a gin, which is a Plymouth style. So yes, juniper in focus or in nature, but really with a sharper focus on the citrus botanicals. Got a Reposado style tequila. And then we've got what we call our Milano, which is our Italian aperitivo, call it kind of a somewhere between a Campari and, a different kind of Amaro. And then we've got a sweet vermouth. And, the rationale there is, we just want to make sure our customers can make all their favorite non-alc cocktails, with stuff that we have. And, some of the biggest cocktails, the most popular cocktails these days are things like Negronis. So, needing a sweet vermouth, needing an Amaro, needing an Italian aperitivo and a gin and things like that. And obviously margaritas are really popular. And then we do have a line of 4 ready-to-drink cocktails, non-alcoholic craft cocktails in the can. And the rationale there is it's just kind of, it's a different occasion. It's like if you're out on a hike and you want to get to the top and elevate the moment with a really good cocktail, alcohol or non in our case, but you're not going to bring 750 milliliter bottles and shakers and all that kind of stuff. And so, I think that was a part of the rationale. And the other piece of it was, not everybody's great at making cocktails. And so, how do we make sure that, the first time somebody tries our products, they're getting a great experience versus, if they're getting our stuff and they're mixing up a bad cocktail, ultimately they go, oh, this stuff tastes terrible. And you're like, nope, you just made a bad cocktail. So, how do we ultimately kind of, it's going to de-risk it a little bit by so we make a Negroni, a margarita, a espresso old fashioned, and a Kentucky Mule.
You started this when you first got the idea and you put it in your brain and you started talking to people? When was that?
Yeah, so probably halfway through 2019. And, we got to a place where, the advertising business teaches you how to kind of see patterns in the world. And, I kind of saw that pattern in myself of, well, gosh, I like to drink cocktails, but, what if alcohol was optional? And so I landed on a name pretty quickly. And a lot of times people say, well, gosh, it must be scary taking the leap from a big, comfortable corporate job into this thing. And ultimately for me, it wasn't really that much of a leap. I kind of tricked myself into it. It's these little small steps of, all right, I've got the idea. Let's come up with the name. All right, I came up with the name. Let's, come up with an early prototype of the liquid and let's figure out a bottle. And it's kind of one of those things where ultimately it's like you're at the beach and you kind of tiptoe your way into the water. You keep going and all of a sudden you look back, you're like, whoa, the shore is really far away.
Yeah.
And so, I think that, we got far enough into it and, the thing started based on a gut, feeling, but then all of a sudden the market really started to shift and the validation of, the market research and in addition to the sales that we immediately started seeing, kind of, like I said, validated that there's an idea here. And then, you have all the hard conversations with your wife around things like, hey, we're gonna go all in on this. We're gonna, let's make sure we make these decisions together, and because it is a huge undertaking to build a consumer brand and a business, and it's harrowing, and there's sacrifices to be made. Which I'm really fortunate. My wife has been there the whole time, and she's kept a really good job. So in the early days when I wasn't paying myself, we could put food on the table and healthcare and all that kind of stuff, and Now that it's started to mature, it's starting to pay off a bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Blow that horn. Spin it to win it. And you can like and follow us on our social media and join in our collaborations on Insta, X, you know where. The Best Wine Pod. The Best Wine Pod.
Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast.